Angelina Jolie has always been a top talker, so quite remarkable that when the cameras are always flashing on her, we seem to know every move that she's making. But yesterday it was announced that she had just underwent a double mastectomy, something that she had tested positive for with the BRCA1, the gene mutation that is a sign that you have the possibilities of getting ovarian and breast cancer. She opted to have her breast removed. And it really opened up a huge discussion, just the star power that she has to be able to say that she's done this and to encourage other women to do so really was headline news yesterday. It broke into everything. And so you join into the panel today to kind of continue this discussion. Trisha Owens is joining us from Majic 100, Leanne Cusack, of course, from CTV News at noon, and Carson from Cub & Company. Great to have you guys here.
Good to be here.
It was interesting because it did take over many of the headlines yesterday.
Still today. All of the American networks are still talking about it today. And I think it's important to note that she had the complete mastectomy and then complete reconstruction immediately.
Which
I think a
changes
lot
things.
of times too we see celebrities as living these charmed lives, right? And then to really hear that yes, she's a human being going through something that a lot of women can relate to. I think that was maybe what was also so shocking was here's this superstar who is dealing with normal things, right?
And I think the normal thing in this instance is fear. And it's about loss, it's about grief, it's about her own loss and missing her mother, the fear that she wouldn't be there for her own children.
And another aspect as well is that, you know, we're talking about an actress who has, at the early stages of her career, really used her looks and her sexuality to convey, you know, like the image that she's portraying on screen. So it's very, very unique in the sense that someone that you associate certain body parts with certain women, you know, it's the legs, or exactly as a sex symbol to step up and do this. And I think in a society that's so heavily influenced by celebrity, I think it's a very, very brave move for her to come out and be as public with it as it is, because there are thousands of women that have to face this kind of reality every single day. And seeing someone that big take that step and do that and do the precautionary measures, I think really sends a great message to people out there that you can survive this, you can beat this, and what you have doesn't define who you are.
Her chances, I think, once she had the testing, were 87% likelihood that she would, you know, eventually be dealing with some form of cancer, down to a 5% risk having had undergone this surgery. She's also in a different stage. I mean, she could afford to do, the testing. She could afford to be in a certain circumstance where she had the surgery, was able to have everything reconstructed, and I'm sure with the best, you know, the best people that are dealing with her. And it can be a very different situation for those that are going through our medical system or having, you know, different stages done in a different way.
And this is a blood test. It boils down to a blood test that in Ontario is covered by OHIP. But in the States, it really did generate the, you know, what isn't there for those who do not, you know, have the means. I think she's now talking about having
$3,000, I think, for some of these tests.
Yeah. She's now talking about having her ovaries removed as well. I mean, this is just quite huge.
Now, maybe the fact that she's had so many children as well is probably maybe the decision to take it to that next step was probably a little easier for her, because I know a lot of people, you know, if you haven't had children yet and you make that decision, then that is essentially closing the door, you know, on it. I mean, I know that there are other options that are available in vitro fertilization, that kind of thing, but I think once you make that decision, it might have been, I'm not saying it was an easy decision, but it might have been a little easier for her to do that because she had experienced that.
She's getting there are some critics who are speaking out about that, saying, right, because she had the finances and the resources to do this, that, you know, it was maybe a little bit easier for her. However, I would argue that kind of decision can never be easy for a woman. I mean, we're talking about removing your body parts, and no matter how much money you have, you're still going through that surgery and that trauma, right?
And her editorial in the New York Times was very thoughtfully written. Some say it diminished, you know, that she was so brave in describing how straightforward the procedures were, that it really wasn't that easy for so many other people.
I think it's a lot of women have a different relationship with themselves. And I think in the discussion we had this morning in our newsroom, even between three producers and a couple of the hosts standing there, we all had a different relationship with our breasts. Some more attached than others. Some having already gone through childbirth and breastfeeding had a different reaction. For me, my fear was if I knew that there was something going on there, I had the immediate reaction to say, I'm done, let's go through with this. And I had no double thought about it, but I have And I'll be honest, I don't have that much of a relationship with my breast, but it was very different for our other producers that said, no, I would literally go through every means not to have something like this done until I knew that it was the last resource.
I think I'd want to explore the options too and see, right? I mean, it is very radical to have parts of your body removed, but then what's the alternative? The chemotherapy and the radiation, that's
and plus,
radical
we don't know how long
right?
we don't know how long she had been debating
Dealing
this, you know,
with this,
because the news came out and it seemed so sudden and out of nowhere.
And it
like,
was
wow,
done.
There it is, you know, and it's already done. But we don't know. This could have taken months. This could have taken years for her to come to
this.
the and how much of the of an influence was her husband in that matter as well? Is this the type of thing that you would have a discussion with your? I would hope to think, you know, that there would be a discussion about it. I'm not saying that the guy's going to have the final word. I mean, it's your body part. You make the decision at the end of the day. But you know, there's that you're making the decision for yourself, but at the same time too, there's so many variables as well. Because I mean, are your kids going to notice a difference? Are they going to look at you differently?
They'll notice a difference if you have an 87% chance of not being there for them down to a 5% chance of them being there. And I think that essentially is the bottom line.
It would have been much more traumatic if Angelina Jolie had gone through those cancer treatments, right? Imagine what her children would have been dealing with.
And
that.
Actually, we still have to get back to the fact that she wasn't ever diagnosed with cancer. This was just completely preventative.
10 years she saw her mother suffer and eventually pass at the age of 56.
At some point you have to figure
There's
it out.
so much more to this discussion, which is why it's leading all the newscasts, and it is the top talker.